And our top story tonight, at least 45 people have died as India and Pakistan engage in airstrikes and intense cross-border shelling. For more on these escalations, we're joined by Jonah Blank. He's a visiting senior research fellow, Middle East Institute at the National University of Singapore. Oh, thanks for joining us, Mr. Blank. Now, earlier on this bulletin, we spoke to our correspondents both in Delhi and Islamabad. And what was striking, amongst other things, was the different accounts, both of what is happening right now, and also different accounts of who should take the greater share of blame for the escalation in tensions. This sort of narrative is nothing new in terms of tensions between India and Pakistan.
Yes. Well, thank you for having me. The most important thing to recognize is that we've been here before. The exchange that we've seen over the past 2 weeks, starting with a terrorist action, concluding, or at least we hope concluding, with airstrikes by India and some cross-border shelling, looks very much like what we saw in 2016 and 2019, when the same pattern was displayed. In both of those cases, the result was a spiral downward and de-escalation. So we have at least some reason to be guardedly optimistic that the same thing will happen here.
So that's reason for some comfort to think we have been here before. And if you think India and Pakistan confirming their nuclear status in the late 1990s, and nothing has happened, at least on the nuclear front, still lives are lost only for both sides to return to what they were before the most recent escalation. Surely there's a way out of this.
Well, the first part of your statement is very much something I think everyone would agree with. There's nothing good or satisfactory about a status quo in which both sides inflict losses on the other side and take lives to achieve no strategic gain. The second part is more difficult. What is it, the pathway forward? And I don't think anyone really has a good answer to that. I don't think anyone is saying this is the last time we're going to see a cycle of terrorist action and military response. The question is there anything that the outside world can do to help India and Pakistan make sure that this does not spiral into the nuclear arena?
Right, earlier our Delhi correspondent said traditionally neither India nor Pakistan is open to third-party mediation. But you are suggesting it's not just mediation in which foreign actors can contribute to easing these tensions. There are other options for foreign actors.
That's right. No one, or let's be a little more specific, India is definitely not interested in mediation. Pakistan has been more open, but that's because Pakistan is the non-status quo power in Kashmir. India has very much been against this. India's position is that we've been to the UN on this back after the 1948 war, 1947 into 1948. And this is already settled business. Pakistan's position is let's have as much external mediation because we haven't been able to achieve what we won on the battlefield. However, outside countries do have a role to play in two ways. One is providing the facilitation for India and Pakistan to make a deal that they both really want to make. That is, a very limited deal, merely keeping things where they are right now, rather than escalating. And sometimes it can be useful to have a fig leaf. The more important way in which specifically the US and China can play a role is by providing satellite imagery to the two sides to show that each side does not have to worry about the other side being on the verge of launching nuclear weapons.
So this is where assets from Russia, China, and the US could play a part. They could volunteer satellite imagery to reassure both India and Pakistan there's no need to escalate further on the nuclear front. Final question.
Correct. Less so Russia, Primarily the US, because the US has nearly twice as many military satellites as China does. And the US has just a capability that no other nation does. India has about 9, maybe as many as a dozen military satellites. But the point is that you can't just launch a nuclear weapon a minute after thinking that you want to do it. You have to prepare it, and that takes hours, sometimes days. The US can provide satellite imagery showing, for example, India, look, Pakistan has not yet started to mobilize the assets needed. It could provide the same imagery to Pakistan, but Pakistan may get similar imagery from China. So the superpowers really can help provide the assurance that if there's nuclear escalation, it's not by accident.
Well, thanks for that. Jonah Blank there, visiting senior research fellow, Middle East Institute, National University of Singapore. Thanks for joining us this evening.